Good morning. We're out here in my front yard today, and I was going to answer a question. I have had a question several times about should I wash my mullein, because when I did my video, how to harvest mullein, I didn't include washing it in there. And I'm going to share with you today, should you wash your mullein? Maybe, maybe not. It depends on the circumstances. Now, I've got a mullein plant right here. It's pretty tall. You can see how tall this mullein plant is. It's taller than me. I'm right here. There it is. Now this mullein is blooming. You can see these beautiful yellow blooms down here are falling off, and I am going to harvest those today because those make great eardrops and they make great cough syrup. So I'll be harvesting these today. I'll try not to get sidetracked about the mullein, the beautiful mullein that's bloomed in this garden this year, and share with you should you wash your mullein or not. Now there are all different schools of thought. You know, there's a right way and there's a wrong way and there's ways in between. So, you know, you have to, when you start an herbalism journey, you have to figure out things on the research that you do, the information that you gather, and you have to think for yourself and follow as many good rules as you can. So in me saying that, I'm just saying that there are tips. I don't wash my mullein. I'll harvest this mullein right here or even off of the side of the mountain, and I'll take it in the house and I will go ahead, lay it out to dry, and proceed to dry this without washing it. Now, you're going to see down here, especially if you are harvesting your mullein out in the wild. Now, when I harvested my mullein off the side of the mountain, the bottom leaves were pretty dirty. I mean, they had been down in the dirt and they were just dirty. So I didn't harvest those leaves that were down around the bottom that were real dirty. I left those, and I harvested on up on the plant where there wasn't very much of anything on this plant. Now, there would be a lot of people that say, how in the world could you take something out from the yard, take it in the house, and dry it and use it? Well, look what's bearing down on this plant. That's sunshine. That's UVA and UVB rays. And they are sterilizing this plant. So anything that's going to get on this plant is sitting out here in the sun, and that will sterilize this plant to a certain extent. Over here is a smaller little mullein. You can see the leaves are smaller, but you can see the leaves are clean. Now when you get down there at the bottom, the leaves are not as clean. There might be stuff all over these leaves. Don't harvest from the bottom. Harvest the leaves that are up higher. Now there might be some rosettes. You know, I have shown you when Donald and I were harvesting our mullein from our family's property there in the mountains, we were harvesting the rosettes that were down on the ground, and we were careful not to get the real dirty leaves that were in the red mud. You know, there was a real big deal. You can read the research. There's been papers on it. You can research it and find out the facts for yourself. People, over the overuse of antibacterial soaps, the overuse of antibiotics and things that kill not only our not only our bad bacteria that you want to get rid of, but also our good bacteria. So there's just a certain amount of things that we live with that are not bad. They're not as bad as we might think, or we might group all of the bacteria together, not realizing there's many good bacteria that help our bodies. And if you keep a child when it's growing up, if you keep it sterile and you keep it and it never has any kind of viruses, or it never has anything to build immunities in the body, then that is a very weakened condition for a child. So we grew up on a mountain. We were barefoot. We harvested mullein. We took our mullein home. We did not wash our mullein. We shook it off and we took it in the house and proceeded to dry it. So my answer is, if you harvest it carefully and you don't get dirt, any more dirt than you have to get, and you harvest the clean leaves. Say we're going to harvest this leaf right here. Say I'm going to harvest a few leaves this morning. I hate to cut this mullein up because I tell you it's beautiful. I've so enjoyed it in the garden this year, but that's off the point, ain't it? So here we are. We've gathered our mullein. No matter how much you gather, you're going to do that carefully. And so here's our mullein leaves. Now I've got a few spots on this mullein. Something's chomped on it a little bit right here. That won't hurt it a bit. There's a little bit of dry spots. I can always cut those off before I dry it. But you see, there's nothing on here that I need to run this mullein underwater. Not one thing. No reason. It's been out here in the sun. It'll be perfectly okay for me to go ahead and harvest this, to dry it, and to use it. A lot of people just harvest the blooms. They're falling off now, so it's a good time to go ahead and do that. This will open up some more. These are just the beginning of the blooms. So you can harvest like several times off of this one big stalk here. No need to wash these. There's nothing on them to wash. If you don't see anything on them, you don't see any reason. They've not been down in the dirt. They've been up here in the air. So I would say it depends on whether or not you wash your mullein. It depends on how dirty it is when you harvest it. Now I have needed mullein and harvested, and I didn't have a really clean plant to harvest from because maybe it rained a lot, and a lot of the time where we harvest our mullein, it was on the side of a mountain. So when it rains, the dirt water rolls down and it will wash over the mullein. So I have had to harvest when the mullein was really dirty, so I have washed it. But when you wash these leaves, they get saturated with water, and it takes them longer to dry out. It's not a bad thing, it just is going to take you a lot longer. So that's the only thing, you need to keep in mind. And there's some people that wash everything, so it doesn't matter. They're going to wash everything no matter what. So if you're one of those people, it certainly won't hurt your mullein to wash it. It's just going to take it longer to dry out. I've got pests in the garden today. So the answer to the question, should I wash my mullein or not, is if you feel the need to wash your mullein, then go ahead and wash it. It'll take it a little longer to dry. I usually do not wash my mullein. I bring it in just like this. It's got a little fuzzy leaf to it. And if you know mullein, you know that. So it does kind of grip onto some things. But yeah, I would not wash this mullein. I would just go right in, take it in, put a band around it, and hang it to dry. So I've harvested my beautiful mullein off of my plant out there. I harvested the upper leaves, which are pretty clean. I've got one here, it's got a little bit of dried stuff on it, but I think it'll be all right. I've shook them off outside. I'm going to go ahead and put my rubber band around them. Put my label on it. And I'm going to hang it over here with my other herbs here on my herb rack. I've got quite a few other things hanging here. So I'm just going to hang it up here to dry with my other herbs. And then I would proceed, after that's dry, to go ahead and process it into a container so that I can use it when I'm ready to use it for the herbal teas. And you know, if you're going to make a tea out of your mullein, or if you're going to even use it in soups or stews, however you choose to use your mullein, you know, usually you're going to be putting that tea in boiling water for 10 minutes, water that has boiled. You're going to pour it over your mullein, so that's going to kill some bacteria right there. So it's not like you're just out here picking up a handful of soil and choosing to make tea with it. I mean, there's a process that you thoughtfully curate and thoughtfully harvest and prepare your herbs in a manner that is clean and safe. You know, you want to be careful to make sure that you're harvesting just good, clean specimens of whatever herb you're gathering, and you want to be sure to know that you have identified correctly what you're gathering. And then, you know, you got to realize this has been out in the sun. You're going to bring it in to dry. You're going to pour boiling water over it and make your tea, and so, or put it in a soup and make a good soup. So it's up to you. Research, put your thought process into it. If you're a person that washes everything, by all means wash it. And if you are grew up wild and grew up harvesting and foraging, and you realize that you can just get this off and dry it and it'll be perfectly okay. We've done that all of my life. So, you know, I make that decision for myself. I don't always wash the mullein. Sometimes I do if it's really dirty. So I just use my thought process as to whether or not this needs to be washed. I hope this helps you with the question, because there's so many people that want to include that in their process of dehydrating. You know, they want to know, should I wash this? Is this something I need to wash? So I hope I've answered that for you today, and I hope that you understand and can it answers a question for you. I'm glad you joined me here today, and like always, until next time.